In the year 1973, the Jewish architect Louis Kahn is commissioned to build a synagogue which is going to be the major Jewish construction, the icon of Jewish Jerusalem in the Old City. So if you've got the timeline in your head, this is after 1967 when the city is united, then the Old City of Jerusalem suddenly becomes part of the newly established State of Israel. The design that was offered by Kahn was supposed to be something really utopian in terms of Jewish society, because it was supposed to be a building in which there could be a communion between the Orthodox, conservative and Reform Jews. It was supposed to be a place where there would be an egalitarian place for women, a place where Ashkenazi and Sephardi Jews could pray together. The utopian vision was a little too utopian, and that design was never carried out. Well, I'm actually quite sorry about it, because it was supposed to be a brutalist work of architecture which would have been really one of the gems of architecture in the 1970s. Instead, they took about 40 years to make the decision of how to reconstruct this area, which was the most significant Jewish location in the 18th and 19th centuries inside the Old City, and the most visually prominent. And what they decided to do is to build what you see behind me, which is a reconstruction of the 19th century stage of the Hurva synagogue, designed by an Ottoman architect, Effendi, which is one of the reasons you may not naturally look and think it's a synagogue. It maybe looks more like a mosque or a hammam. The building decides to go back to its iconic state before it was destroyed by the Jordanians around 1948. And it's an interesting ideological decision, because when the people of Jerusalem and their representatives think of how Judaism is going to be represented in the skyline, in the cityscape of Jerusalem, they make this choice between the very contemporary building of Louis Kahn, which they don't choose, and between going back to a point in time. So at that moment, the Jewish society decides to iconicize itself, not through something which talks about the contemporary society, but which ties it along to a different point in the past and in the timeline. I think that's representative of a lot of what's going on in the Jewish quarter. And I invite you to go inside the Hurva synagogue, hear about the different stages in its history, and think about that, how a society can both be itself and connect itself to something in the past. A really tricky thing to do.